Chapter: An Anomalous Phenomenon.
When we buried Anastasia's parents, she was very little. She couldn't walk or talk at all. My father and I dug the earth with the wild animals' help. We spread twigs over the bottom of the pit, laid the bodies of Anastasia's parents in it, covered them with grass and sprinkled them with earth. We stood silently over the funeral mound. Little Anastasia was sitting close by in the glade, examining a bug crawling over her hand. It's good she can't yet comprehend the grief that has come to her, we thought. Then we quietly left.
What do you mean left? You're telling me you abandoned a little girl who still didn't have her wits about her?
We didn't abandon her. We left her where her mother had given her birth. We have a concept, Shambhala, homeland. Homeland, Rodina, comes from rod, birth or kin. Mother. Before a child appears in the world, his parents must shape a dimension for him, a world of goodwill and love, and give him a small piece of homeland, a Rodina, which, like the womb, both protects the body and bestows kindness on the soul. It gives him the wisdom of the universe and helps him acquire the truth. What does a woman who gives birth inside stone walls give her child? What kind of world has she prepared for him? Should she even think about the world in which her child would have to live? The world will treat them as it pleases. It will try to subject the little human being to itself and make a slave of him, a cog. The mother becomes nothing more than an observer because she did not prepare a dimension of love for her child. You see, Vladimir, Anastasia's mother was treated by the nature that surrounded her, and the wild animals, big and small, the same as anyone who lived the way she did. As a friend, a wise and good divinity who had created around herself a world of love. Anastasia's parents were cheerful and good people. They loved each other very much, and they loved the earth. The dimension that surrounded them returned their love. Little Anastasia was born in the dimension of this love and became its centre. Many wild animals do not harm newborns. A cat can nurse a puppy and a dog a kitten. Many wild animals are capable of feeding and nursing a human offspring. But these animals have become wild for you. For Anastasia's mother and father, they had a different purpose. The wild animals treated them differently. Anastasia's mother gave birth to her in the glade, and many animals observed the birth. They saw the human woman they respected becoming a mother and giving birth to another human. When they observed the birth, their feelings for their human friend, their love for her, became intertwined with their own maternal instinct, giving birth to something new, elevated and light. Absolutely the entire surrounding dimension, from the tiniest bug and blade of grass to the outwardly menacing wild animal, was prepared to give its life without thinking for this little being. Nothing could threaten her in this dimension of homeland that was created and given by her mother and was all around her. Everyone would nurse and cherish this human being. For Anastasia, the little glade was like her mother's womb. The little glade was her living homeland, mighty and good, and indissolubly linked to the universe, to all the great Creator's creation, by a living thread not made by human hand. The little glade was her living homeland, her inheritance from her mother and father, and from the one and first father. We could not take its place. So, after we buried Anastasia's parents, we left. 3 days later, on a hike to the glade, we sensed a tension in the air and heard the wolves whining. Then we saw little Anastasia was sitting quietly on the burial mound. One cheek was dirty. We realized she had been sleeping on the grave. Tears were slipping from her eyes and falling on the mound. She was weeping almost without a sound, just letting out a sob once in a while. She kept stroking the burial mound with her little hands. Unable to speak, she said her first words at this mound. We heard them. First she said them, syllable by syllable.
Mama, Papa.
She repeated them a few times, then she uttered more complicated words.
Mamoshka, Papochka, I'm Anastasia. I'll be here without you now, right? Just with my grandfathers, right?
My father was the first to realize that back when we were burying her parents, little Anastasia, sitting in the glade and examining the bug, had grasped the full depth of the grief that had befallen her. By an effort of will she had not shown her feelings so as not to upset us. She had taken in the wisdom and strength of the primary sources with her mother's milk. Nursing mothers have that opportunity, Vladimir. They can give their infant, while they're nursing, not only their milk, but understanding and the wisdom of the ages, all the way back to the primary sources. Anastasia's mother knew how this was done and made full use of this method, the very fullest. Since Anastasia did not want us to see her crying, we did not go out into the glade or approach the grave, but we could not move from that spot, so we stood there, watching what was happening. Little Anastasia, resting her little hands on the burial mound, was trying to stand on her little legs. It didn't work the first time, but she did eventually manage to stand. She stood there swaying, her arms held out slightly to the sides, and finally took her first timid step from her parents' grave, and then one more. Her little feet got tangled in the grass, and her little body lost its balance and started to fall. But her fall, it was unusual. At the moment of her fall, suddenly, a barely visible bluish illumination flooded the glade, altering the Earth's gravitation locally. It touched us with a blessed languor as well. Anastasia's little body did not fall, but rather dropped slowly and smoothly to the ground. When she got back up on her feet, the blue light disappeared and gravity returned to normal. Taking cautious steps and with periodic halts, Anastasia walked up to a small twig lying in the glade and was able to pick it up. We realized she had decided to tidy the glade the way her mother used to. The still, tiny little girl carried the dry twig to the edge of the glade, but once again she lost her balance, started falling and dropped the twig. As she fell, the blue light flared again, altering the Earth's gravity once more, and the twig flew off to a stack of dried branches lying at the edge of the glade. Anastasia stood up, looked for the twig, and couldn't find it. Then she held her little arms out to the side and slowly tottered toward another twig. Before she could lean over, the twig began to rise as if a breeze had blown it aside. It cast the dried twig to the edge of the glade. But there wasn't enough wind around for that to happen. Some invisible someone was carrying out little Anastasia's desire. But she wanted to do everything herself, the way her mamma had. Probably in protest against the help from her invisible ally, she raised her little arm up and waved it slightly. We looked up and saw it. Hanging over the glade, pulsing and radiating blue light, was a small spherical cluster. Many fiery charges, like multicoloured lightning, darted inside its translucent covering. It looked like ball lightning, but big. But it was intelligent. We couldn't understand what its intelligence consisted of or what it was. In it we sensed a hitherto unknown and unseen might, yet we felt no fear. On the contrary, from it came a pleasant, languorous grace, and we had no desire to move. We felt only like being.
What made you decide it possessed unprecedented might?
My father noticed it. Even though the day was clear and the sun shone, the leaves on the trees and petals on the flowers had turned toward it rather than the sun. Its bluish illumination held more power than the sun's rays. It also changed the Earth's gravitation at the moment Anastasia's little body was falling, locally and precisely, so precisely that she dropped smoothly, without losing contact with Earth. Anastasia spent a long time collecting twigs, sometimes crawling, sometimes taking small, slow steps, walking through the glade till she had picked them all up herself. The fiery, pulsating sphere directed itself towards the tiny child, but it no longer helped her clear the twigs. It was as if the mighty sphere had understood and obeyed the gesture of the child's little hand. Expanding and dissolving in the dimension, contracting and producing flashes inside itself that looked like energy produced and extinguished by something unknown, it would vanish for an instant and then reappear, as if agitated and having rushed through the universal dimension with unimaginable speed. The time came when Anastasia usually fell asleep. We never forced children to sleep, rocking them to the point of dizziness. At that time, Anastasia's mama would simply lie down at the edge of the glade in the same place and seemed to fall asleep, showing her by example. Little Anastasia would crawl over to her, press up against her warm body and calmly fall asleep. This time, too, Anastasia went over to where she usually took a nap with her mother. She stood there and looked at the spot where her mother had always slept at that time, but now her mama wasn't there. We didn't know what she was thinking about at that moment, but once again a teardrop gleamed in a sunbeam on little Anastasia's cheek. The blue light immediately began to pulse through the glade, blinking irregularly. Anastasia looked up, saw the pulsing cloud, sat down on the grass and watched it steadily. Under her gaze it fell still. She looked at it for a while, then she held both arms out to it as she did when she summoned one of the wild animals. Right then the sphere blazed into a great many powerful lightning bolts, which broke the bounds of the blue covering and flew like a fiery comet toward her little hands. Able to clear everything in its path, it appeared by Anastasia's face in an instant and began to turn, and with its lightning bolt seemed to tear away the teardrop shining on her cheek. All the flashes were immediately extinguished, and the sphere in the hands of the child sitting on the grass now glowed blue. For a while Anastasia held it, examined and stroked it. Then she stood up, lifted the blue sphere, stepping carefully, carried it a ways and placed it where she had slept with her mamma. She stroked it again. It lay there and seemed to fall asleep as Anastasia's mamma used to, and Anastasia lay down on the grass beside it. She was sleeping on the grass, curled into a ball, when it suddenly flew up, vanishing into the heavens and then dissolving low over the glade, as if covering her with itself. Then, once again contracting into a small, pulsing sphere, it ended up next to Anastasia, sleeping on the grass and stroking her hair. This was a strange and unusual stroking. It took and lifted each strand separately with its delicate, shining, quivering lightning rays. Subsequently, as we were arriving to visit Anastasia in her glade, we saw it several times more. We realized that for Anastasia it was something natural, like the sun, the moon, the trees, and the animals all around her. As with everything about her, she talked to it, but she also distinguished it from everything else, although this distinction had few outward signs. We felt she treated it with slightly more respect than everything else, but sometimes she gave it a little trouble. She never gave anyone any trouble, but with it, for some reason, she allowed herself to. It reacted to her mood and satisfied her whims. When Anastasia turned 4, on her birthday at dawn, we stood at the edge of the glade and waited for her to wake. We wanted to observe quietly as she rejoiced at the dawning of the spring day. It appeared a moment before her awakening, glowing blue and then dissolving throughout the glade. We saw a living picture, enchanting and beautiful, not made by human hands. The entire glade and the surrounding trees, grass and bugs were transformed. The cedars needles were illuminated in different soft colours. The squirrels leaping on the branches trailed melting rainbows of light. The grass shone a gentle green. An even more vivid, multicoloured illumination came from the many bugs moving in the grass, and together they comprised a living, flowing carpet of extraordinary beauty, constantly transforming its beautiful, elaborate patterns. When she awoke, Anastasia opened her eyes, saw the extraordinary living picture full of enchantment, jumped up, looking around. She smiled the way she always smiled in the morning, and her surroundings reacted to her smile with an even brighter illumination and quickening. Then Anastasia dropped carefully to her knees and began to examine closely the grass and the bugs moving and shining in different colours. When she looked up, she seemed both to be concentrating and a little worried. She looked up, and even though there was nothing overhead, she stretched her little arms to the sky. The still air instantly stirred, and the blue sphere appeared in her hands. She held it near her face, placed it on the grass, and stroked it tenderly. We heard their conversation. Only Anastasia spoke, but there was the full sense that it understood what she said and was silently trying to respond. Anastasia spoke tenderly to it, and a little sadly.
You are good. You are very good. You wanted to please me with beauty. Thank you. But put it back, please. Put everything back the way it was before, and never change it again.
The blue sphere started pulsing, rose slightly above the ground, and lightning bolts flashed within it. But the shining picture did not disappear. Anastasia looked carefully at the sphere and spoke again.
Each little bug, beetle and ant has a mama. Everyone has a mama. Mamas love their children just the way they're born. It doesn't matter how many legs they have or what color their body is. You changed everything. How are the mamas going to recognize their children now? Put it all back the way it was, please.
The sphere blinked slightly, and everything in the glade returned to the way it had been. It dropped by Anastasia's feet again. She stroked it and said,
Thank you for changing it back.
Then she fell silent, gazing attentively at the sphere. When she spoke, her words struck us.
Please don't visit me anymore. I'm happy with you. You always try to do only good and to help, but don't visit me. And I realize you have your own very big glade. You think very fast. So fast I can't understand you right away. Only later do I understand just a little. You move faster than everyone. Lots faster than the birds and the breeze. You do everything very fast and well, and I realize this is because you have to get everything done and do something good in your own very big glade. But when you're with me, that means you're not there, and there's no one to do good in the other glade. Go. You need to look after your own glade.
The blue sphere contracted into a very small mass and flew up. It dashed around the space, flared more brightly than usual, and once again sparked like a fiery comet toward Anastasia, who was seated and fell still next to her head. Many trembling rays reached toward Anastasia's long hair and stroked each strand individually to the very tip.
Well, what's keeping you? Hurry to those who are waiting for you. I will do everything good here myself. It will be nice for me to know that everything is good in the big glade too. I will feel you. And you must think of me, but only sometimes.
The blue sphere rose up, but not with ease, as usual. It rose from Anastasia in irregular bursts, vanishing in the space, but it left something invisible around her. Any time something negative happens, something Anastasia doesn't want, the surrounding dimension falls still, as if paralyzed. You lost consciousness when you tried to touch her against her will. She halts this phenomenon by raising her arms, whenever she can do so in time. As before, she still wants to do everything herself. We used to ask little Anastasia a question. What was that shining thing that dropped to the glade? What do you call it? She thought for a short time and replied,
You could call it good, dear Grandpas.
The old man fell silent, but I wanted to hear more about how little Anastasia lived in the forest, and I asked him, what did she do afterward? How did she live?
She just lived. She grew up like everybody else. We suggested that she helped the summer people. Since she was 6, she could see people at a distance to sense and help them. The summer people fascinated her. Now she believes that the summer people phenomenon is a smooth transition toward comprehending the essence of earthly being. She has been shining her ray diligently for 20 years. She has warmed the plants in their small gardens. She has healed people. She has tried to explain to people in a low-key way how they need to treat their plants, and it's all worked out wonderfully for her. Then she began observing other aspects of human life. It was fate that brought her together with you. It also created this idea: carry people across the dark forces span of time.
Do you believe she can succeed?
Vladimir, Anastasia knows the power of man-creator's thought and would not allow herself to declare herself just like that. That means she has some kind of power. Now she will not veer from this path or retreat. She's persistent. That's from her father.
That means she's taking action. She's trying to produce her own thought images, and we here are merely discussing the spiritual. We're like children wiping our runny noses. Some people ask me, does Anastasia exist, or did I dream her up?
People cannot ask such a thing. People immediately sense her when they come in contact with the book. She is in it too. Only illusory people can ask those questions, not genuine ones.
End of chapter. Join us for the next segment of Ringing Cedars of Russia, Book 2 of the Ringing Cedars series, Illusory People.